Good morning, everybody. I'm going to keep my voice down for a while because I'm simply trying to experiment with some things that I've tried over the last 4 or 5 months to become a creator with YouTube. And it's probably one of the top 3 things in my life that I haven't, in my opinion, done too well. And there's a lot of reasons. Okay, first of all, I watched way too many videos on becoming a creator, and a lot of them simply they don't set you up for failure, but they give you that information, and that information is 1 in 3 or whatever the number was of you will fail. Okay, the chances of success are 1 in gazillion. Well, I've thought about that over the last couple of months. I haven't made any videos. In case you don't remember who I am, my name is Mike. I am retired. I do have grandchildren. I do have all my hair. And most importantly, I've got something to share for those that are interested. I was going to start this video up by saying, do you realize that I can remember when I was handed a pager as I was working in a sales job, and I went, wow, a pager. We are on the moon. And then the pager went to the laptop, and then the laptop went to the cell phone, and then the cell phone went to online ordering, and I was just like, wow. In a little humor, I remember the day I got my first computer, and I looked at this thing, and I put all the cords in where the directions said to put them, and, I don't have a damn clue what I'm doing. And I call up my son, and he says, I love this kid, by the way. He says to me, I said, Michael, how do I turn this thing on? He says, Jesus, Dad, don't you know nothing? And I was like, okay, bitch. And I figured it out. Now, turning it on and doing this and doing that and finding this and discovering that and reading everything that I loved. The computer is an amazing thing. In the last couple, 3 or 4 months, I've tuned into AI, and I have to tell you, it's changed my life. I'm not going to go into detail about what I ask it, but it's got an answer for everything, and it's almost like talking to your best friend who you can lay in bed at night and say to yourself, God, I wonder how that, or where do God, I just can't figure that out. AI's got the answer, and they thank you. And my wife gets mad at me when I say, you know what he said last night? And she says, well, how do you know it's a he? I said, listen, it's a he to me, it's a she to you, be it as it may. Anyway, going back to my becoming a creator. I've been retired now for 15, 16 years. And I never really understood as I was growing up, nor was I as a young kid groomed to A, save money, B, work for that day that you have and you can become retired. And so I threw myself into it. And I learned and I worked and I worked and I learned and I kept my eyes open and I listened intently and I took a few bumps and I took a few grinds and I hit the ground a couple of times, but I never gave up. And that being said, I am where I am today. And one of the things that I think that I see amongst men and women, maybe, but I can't relate to that specifically, is that we are bored. And there's a couple of things that I miss. Being a salesman, you're a social butterfly. Even men can be, of course. And I miss that social interaction. And I find that one of my faults, is that I have too much time to think, all right? Now, let me explain. I created a lot of hobbies for myself when I was a kid growing up. I love to do this. I love to build models. I love to paint my bike. I love to do all these different things. And that evolved, okay? And pretty soon, by the time I was 15, I had my first car. By the time I was 16, I was driving a 57 Chevy two-door hardtop, and it just evolved. I got married. I had kids. I had a nice house. I had a swimming pool. I had a divorce. I stayed single. I remarried. And I just never gave up, I guess, is my point. And what I have experienced in my years, and hopefully I've got a few left, is that I can honestly say I wake up every morning really early. I have probably way too much coffee, and it's debatable whether that's really good for you or not. And I plan my day out. And that was something I learned being a salesperson, that to get in the car in the morning, turn on the key, and having a clue where you're going, you might as well turn the motor off, take off your tie, and go climbing back into bed, because you're going to drive in circles. So that's embedded in me. I get up in the morning or the night before. I've already made a list of what I'm going to do in today. And sometimes the list has nothing on it, and good for me. Going to the grocery store is not what I consider something to do. So as I started to say, my situation evolved. I did this, I did that. I became interested in doing some different things. I bought a few old cars. I'm still working on them to this day, God bless me. And it's not a chore, it's a challenge. And it's a challenge against age. I have to admit that's what it's become. And by that I mean my interest in working on old cars seems to be a fading thing, with the over the last many years of all the imported cars coming in. The younger generation of men and women that try to have an interest in old cars has kind of faded away. Not entirely, but it's been the subject of conversation. And I see it, actually. And unfortunately, a lot of that has to do with inflation, that it's not as affordable as it was when I started doing it, okay? And so with that being said, I've created so much to do that I get overwhelmed. And by getting overwhelmed, I mean sometimes I just work myself to death, okay? And I sleep, and I have to, take time off to rest and take care of my body. But I'm not here to brag. I'm not here to teach. I'm not here to do anything more than share what my life has encompassed. And from that, maybe somebody, if it's only one person, can gain something. And there is so many things in this world I have yet to do. And this is 2026, it's July. And I hope to post this at some point today. And I have to maybe replay it a few times and maybe edit it a bit. I don't like editing. I like to make a video once. I think going back to the beginning of this video, when I started alluding to the fact that I remember when I got a pager, and I went, a pager? Wow, this is cool. And within 30 days, I was holding the thing out the window trying to drop it on the freeway, because everybody and your brother now knows how to reach you. And everybody and their brother and sister and mom and aunt and uncle, everybody else has a necessity, has an urgent request, has a, I need this by Friday. And it was insane, okay? It's hard to say no when you're a commissioned salesman. And so, that being said, time has gone by. And I was watching a video the other day, and I realized this because I have found myself doing this as of present time now. And that is, I'm online and I'm on Facebook and I'm looking at reels. I've got a few things of interest, I'm trying to teach myself how to do carbon fiber. I've got the materials. I've already worked with epoxy a little bit. I haven't fine-tuned it. I've done a few things I'm fairly happy with, but there's bigger things that I want to do, so I'm kind of working in that direction. So the average person decides in 1.7 seconds if he's going to stay or scroll. Stay or scroll. 1.7 seconds. I think 1.7 seconds equivalates to blinking. I'm just making that up. I don't know for a fact. But our attention span has gone from, sure, I'd love to listen to you. Okay, that's interesting. Have you given it much thought? To 1.7 seconds, 1.7 seconds, 1.7 seconds. Come on. I am victim numero uno. I have zero attention span, okay? When somebody approaches me, be it wherever, whoever it is, and they want to say, can I ask you a question? I'm like, sure, but come on, ask me, come on. And I'm just like, what the hell am I doing? You have to stop. You have to think. This person has a concern. This person has a genuine question. Don't be so quick, Mike. I say to myself, but it's hard, especially if they're not there. They're not within you where you need them to be to understand. So then you have questions. Questions lead to time. Time, it's short. And I have, hopefully, some years left. I've pushed the envelope physically in a few respects. I've pushed the envelope. But I'm still here. I'm still upright. I'm still walking, talking, eating. I love to cook. I love Mexican food. Oh my gosh. But at the same time, at this age, my age, and I'm not going to share it with you because it's not your business, but you have to have limits. And I'm standing in my garage, in case you haven't figured that out. It's my all-purpose room. It's my office. It's my place where I make videos because it's quiet. Anyway, I hope I've touched you. I hope I've brought something to your day. I hope I've given you a reason not to scroll away. If you see my picture on a video on YouTube, take a shot at it, okay? If you like it, give it a like. If you don't, give me a comment. Say, go to hell. I'm just kidding. Don't do that. But I'd appreciate it. I'm trying to work that thing up because being a salesman, you have a gift to gab, okay? If you can't walk in and talk and walk and chew gum at the same time, it's not a necessity, but it is important, okay? So I haven't lost that gift. So peace out. Have a great day. I hope you have a wonderful afternoon, and I'll talk to you soon. And thanks for watching. I appreciate it.